Hi, this is Bob with Formatread Company. Today we're going to talk about using our form tape to create the tread. Most of our customers use our Easy Form to create a 1-inch wide tread, but occasionally there's a need to make a tread that is another width. So if you have any questions, you can always email us at info@rgfmaterials.com. The first step in any good installation is make sure your surface is clean, dry, and sound. We're just using this board as a demonstration. This could be part of a ramp, this could be a step here, but typically, especially on a concrete surface, you want to just give it a good scrubbing. You want to remove any kind of dirt, loose particles, anything that might have just gotten onto the surface of the concrete. This will remove most of that. If there's any kind of greases or oils, you'll need to use some sort of a cleaner. If you do use a water-based cleaner, make sure that that's thoroughly rinsed and the surface is dry before application. So once this is done, you want to make sure you vacuum any kind of loose dirt, any granules here, especially for concrete, completely off of here. So the Easy Form is our patented stencil on a tape system, and that is applied. If this is a step, this would just be applied right on the edge of the step. That gives a 1-inch wide tread. For a top step, we typically recommend 2 1-inch wide treads spaced an inch apart. So that would just be applied just like that. If you want a 1/2 inch distance apart, then you would overlap just like that. So let's see how we would use our form tape. This is basically the same material we have in the Easy Form, just in a single strip, and it has a backing paper. So just put that out like that. This is the end, so you want to give yourself a few inches and then just stretch like that. What that does, that gives it a little bit of a handle to pull off the backing paper. That's applied onto the edge of the step. That gives a 1/2 inch space behind the front edge of the step, which is what you want. Now we're going to do a 2-inch wide tread. So I'm going to take my tape ruler. I've got a little pen here. Now I actually pre-marked this, but you can see that's 2 inches right here. Over here, 2 inches here. Double check my measurement here. Yeah, about right there. Again, pull that out. Okay, pull this like that. It gives me a little ear to grab onto. Pull back the backing paper. Now I've got my 2 inches marked here. Don't stretch it, just lay it just enough to keep it straight. And there you go. I've got a 2-inch tread, perfect, right there. So typically with a step, if this is a step, if this were a wall here and this is the side of the step, you're not going to have people stepping right here. So you can typically come in 3 inches is what most of our customers do. So 3 inches here, measure that, 3 inches over on this side. Now to make that a nice clean edge, just use a masking tape. Align that here. All you have to do is press along this line. Give yourself something to grab onto later. That's nice to have, a little ear. This here. There you go, little ear here. Also, just in case there's any kind of oversplash, you can always, if you apply too much, this is helpful just to have it on the back as well. Again, give yourself something to grab onto later when removing. Okay, so that's how you set up this step to create the 2-inch tread. Before we start using the Formatread material, just want to remind you that it's always our recommendation to use safety gloves and use safety glasses whenever working with our materials or any kind of chemical materials. The cartridge I have here was opened a few months ago. After it's used, we just recommend keeping the nozzle on the cartridge. When you're ready to use, just store it under 90 degrees Fahrenheit. But when you're ready to use, just take some pliers. Sometimes it can be difficult, so pliers can be helpful. And unscrew the cartridge. Now you can see the material there is still fresh. The nozzle can be disposed of. You always should balance the cartridge, whether it's been used for the first time or like I'm doing the second or third time. Bouncing the cartridge is simple. We like just to use a little rag here and make sure that both sides of the cartridge are flowing evenly. There you go, I see the yellow coming out now. Wipe that clean. It's your new mixing nozzle. Screw that on. Now, I dispense the material. See, it's coming out, and as with a new cartridge, I want to make sure I have a 1-to-1 ratio, so I don't want to use the first 2 inches. There, I'm sure I have a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, let's wipe that off. It's good to have a drop cloth on the side, just a disposable drop cloth. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just apply directly to the surface. It's good to start right there on the blue tape, just gives you the ability to spread into the corners. Safety yellow is often used on the top step and the bottom step. It gives a visual cue, a color visual cue, so people won't miss that first critical step. Now, I have my spreader. It's always good to have some paper towels just in case I have any drips. I take my spreader, just spreading lightly for the first pass, just getting a nice light spread just to see how it's filling in. I'm going to angle this at about 30 degrees. There we go, that looks good. I'm missing a few places here, but it looks like I have plenty of material. I'll just have to distribute a little bit more. I've got everything filled in, so I actually have a little bit of excess here, so I'm going to go ahead and clean off my scraper, my spreader, and just go over it one more time to make sure I kind of have it even, good looking. There we go. There we go. So now what I've done is I've created a 1/32 inch thick tread, slip resistant tread. It's going to be permanent. So what is the next step? If this is a high volume, high traffic area, if it's outside, if it's an area that has grease, if it's wet frequently, if it's oily, slippery, we recommend applying tread grit heavy duty. Our formula contains tread grit heavy duty inside, so in the formula, but as an additional step, especially for the very high traffic areas, we recommend applying tread grit HD. So what we're doing is just topically applying this, and this is falling into the material. There we go. So we're going to apply it just when we start seeing it turn white. That means it won't stay white, but this is called application to refusal. So you can see it's just laying on top of itself, so that's enough. I might want to add a little more later, so I'm going to put that there. The next step is to remove in reverse order the masking tape. Again, my disposable drop cloth there, just throw that down. It helps keep things clean. You don't want to get the epoxy on surfaces that you don't want it to be. I go back with the tread grit. If I've missed any spots, just apply a last go. I'm finished. Now, on a typical 75-degree Fahrenheit day, around 23 degrees centigrade, this can be walked on in 6 to 8 hours. So the higher the temperature, the faster the cure. This is the lower the temperature, just the opposite, the slower the cure. Thank you for watching, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@rgfmaterials.com.